When capturing video footage of your subject, make sure to choose a high resolution as possible for your capturing device, while opting for a slower frame rate rather than a higher one. A higher frame rate will require a faster shutter speed, and for equal lighting conditions, that might introduce more noise due to the ISO value being increased. So choose a slower frame rate, like 30 FPS, and a high resolution as possible. And when actually capturing video footage of your subject, make sure to try to capture as much of the facial features as possible. You don't need to care about the hairline or the ears or what is below the chin. Or perhaps do care about the chin but not the neck. Like this. So you could go like a pseudo spiraling motion and capture below the chin and right side, left side of the face. Very good. All right. And when you have that, we can move that file to footage here. And then we can make sure to start PowerShell here. If you hold Shift and right mouse button click, you can open a PowerShell window here. Very good. Now you see that the current directory here is where we have the footage file here. All right, and then the command that we're going to use is FFmpeg. If you do not have FFmpeg installed, there's another tutorial for that, linked in the description below. If you have not added FFmpeg, if you have it installed but have not added it to the environmental variables, you can click the Windows key and you can just type path or edit the system environment variables, with path there. And then you can go to environment variables and you can go to path and edit that one. And then you can add that new here. And you can just input where you have it installed. And as you see, we have FFmpeg installed in this directory, and it is currently in the path here for the environmental variables. Very good. We can cancel this in this case. That makes sure that you can simply type FFmpeg and not type the whole directory to the program. All right, and then we want to extract images from the file here, and the file's name is img_7534, and we want to do that with the argument vf, and an FPS of 12 is usually okay. That means that even though the original footage is 30 FPS, we will extract frames comparable to the footage being in 12 FPS. So if it would have been FPS 15, then we would have extracted every other frame. In this case, we will extract 40% of the frames. That's okay. And then we'll make sure that the output frames here, that they can be called frame, and then a set of integers, 4 integers, and which one it is, .png. We'll use PNG as the format here. All right, let's just press enter. And I forgot to make sure that we also have the file extension here. It was a .mov file. All right, now this should work. And in the background, you can see that it populates here with frames. And you can see, how fast it processes the frames and how many numbers of frames have been processed there. Very good, and now it is done. We can exit this. Here we have all the frames. For tidiness, we can make a new folder here with Ctrl-Shift-N and type this extracted frames. Very good, and then we can select all of these, clicking one, and then shift-clicking the other one, and then move these here. Very good. And now we'll simply go through these and check if we have any frames with eyes shut, that is when the subject is blinking. And we should have several of those. So we'll just go like this, and then when we see a blinking, then we delete that. Very good, and delete the second one, next one, and let's see here. And there we have no blinking. Very good, and then we'll continue. And here we have another blinking, and it starts there, and there, and there, and there, and there, and then it is practically resumed. Very good. And then we'll continue, and then we have another blinking, All right, delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that. Yeah, and then I think now that is this done there exactly. Then we can delete those. So let's take note 200, and the last sharp one is 238. So 239 and forward we can delete. 239 and forward we can delete. And then same thing for the first one here. If we don't have any... No, but that's good. Yeah. All right, so that amounts to 196 frames that we can use here in RealityCapture. So we'll start RealityCapture. All right, and we'll do simple as this. We'll go to Workflow, add inputs, and then we'll make sure to be in the correct folder here. We'll go to Extracted Frames, select everyone here, and open. And at this point, though we have not done anything else than only importing the images, I usually save this file. So then we can go here to the folder, and then we can do a RealityCapture folder. And in here, we can just do this. All right, and then it's just a matter of aligning these images. Let's see here, so we go to Alignment, and then align these images. And then for RealityCapture to align these images. All right, and with the images aligned here, we can already see a sparse point cloud. And if you click and hold the right mouse button, you can orbit the camera. And if you click and hold the left mouse button, then you can go forward and backwards and right and left in the X and Y space. All right, and we see the face here. And the first thing you should do is to make sure that the reconstruction region, that's a box here, that it's roughly oriented as you want. And speaking of orientation, it is not the orientation is actually not relevant at all, but make sure that it does not contain more than what you need to capture. And we want to make sure that the nose is here also captured there. All right, so we can make sure that this is just right outside the right ear, even though the ear will not be part of the final result, like that. And then we can make sure that, but it looks good. And then regarding the neck here, we can reduce it a little. We want the chin, but not the neck. All right, this looks good for a first start here. And then we can go to Tools. Or is the second one is the 3D Tools here. And then it's the Set Ground by Reconstruction Region. Like that. And that makes sure that it is like oriented along the reconstruction box here. And it is now, it might be a little hard to show this due to the grid. But you can disable the grid if you go to Scene 3D View here. And then grid is, let's see here, where is it? There, like that. All right. And it is a little skewed here, but I think it's okay. We could do a little like this. And then perhaps orient it a little like this as well. But this is not very important. The important thing is that you don't allow the reconstruction region box to expand far too much outside of the geometry that we want to generate, because that increases computing times lots. All right, but we can make sure that this is set ground by reconstruction region, like that. All right, very good, or adequately enough. And then we can actually hide the grid here. All right, and with the reconstruction region adequately set here, we can just go to Mesh Model and then create a model with normal detail. That's okay. Alright, so here we have the generated mesh from the sparse point cloud. And as we see, the result is actually fairly good. Of course, we have a lot of noise, as you see here. It is not a perfectly captured surface that we have here. But still, this will not be used for like a 100% likeness. It will be more like a approximation of it. So it is, with our degree of tolerance, this is a great result. Alright, and then we can just make sure that we remove all geometry beyond the hairline and the ears, and we remove the ears, and then we can remove like past the chin here. We can include a little of the neck, but not further beyond. And one thing, evaluating where the hairline is, it might be easier, even though this is a very high resoluted mesh. We could actually project, we could colorize it. We don't need to texture this mesh because this is overly complicated, and unwrapping it will take a long time. But we can colorize all the vertices so as to make it easier to remove what is the hairline and what is not. So we can click Colorize here. And like that, we will have it will be much less difficult to know where the hairline is. Alright, so then we'll go to Tools, and it's 3D Tools, and then we'll use Lasso here, and then we'll make sure to position ourselves so that we can remove a certain area or a certain sets of vertices without removing too much. So we can do like this, and then I'll just do like that. We'll go here with the hairline, like that, and we don't want the ear, but we can do like that because I lost my precision with the mouse there. Alright, and then we can, if you hold right mouse button click, then you can orbit the camera. If you hold shift, you can see that you will deselect. You will make a subtractive selection. You can deselect what you have already selected. If you hold control, then you can add. So we'll add here and add a selection to remove the ear. And then let's see here if we go. We want to keep the chin here, but the neck is not relevant. So we can do like this, perhaps. All right. We can make this a little more reasonable. And we can remove that as well, and remove that as well. All right, but now we have a good limitation here. Here where we already had a lot of artifacts, we can remove that as well. By holding control, you extend the selection. All right, so go to the other side and do here. And what I meant about picking the orientation of the orbit, if you do like this and take away this, and you think you've taken away only this, then you actually took away more on this side. If you Control and Z, you undo the selection there. So just make sure that you have the orientation of the camera so that you don't select too much. All right, and then perhaps like this. And remove the ear. And then we're going to go from there to there, perhaps. And make sure that we don't have this flat section there, so we can do like that. All right, and now I think we have removed everything that is beyond the hairline, because the hair will not be generated anyway. We will only use the facial features to identify the main lines in the face. But like that, very good. Yeah. And with this selection, we can filter the selection. So it's in the same mesh model sub UI here. So you just click filter selection. And that removes all of the vertices for that. And then you just verify the result. And I see that it's a little angled here. We can remove a little more then, just to make it approximately symmetrical. Yeah, we can do that. So I'll just click that and select that here. Perhaps if you do like that and then like this. Like that, and we filter that selection as well. Very good. Yeah, this is more than adequate. All right, I'll save this project. Control S to save the project. Very good. And then we'll simplify this, because now, let's see here, if we expand this, the components here, and the model that we now have, we have like, it's not 1 million triangles, but it's more than 800,000. That's very, very much. We want to aim for around 60,000, has been good due to experience. All right, and then we can, with this selected, we can go to mesh model tools and simplify. And here you just make sure that the target triangle count is 60,000. Very good. Rest is okay. And then you can click simplify. And it says here, simplification orthographic prediction works just with the selection of triangles. I just click OK here. But that did not work. Okay. Perhaps it was because we clicked on the other one here. But we have it selected here. We have simplify selected here, and I click simplify. Yeah, okay, now we have another warning here. Very good. It may contain topology defects. And then it says here that selected model may contain topology defects. We recommend to check the model topology, check and clean it. Would you like to continue? We can continue anyway. Yes. And now we have it simplified. And of course, the colorization of it is much more sparse now. If we go to, I think, view, and then we can view not the sweet model here, but only the solid, then we can see that this is much less resoluted than the other one, which is good. We don't want an overly complex mesh to do this with. If we go to the pre-simplified, you see here that we have a lot more information, a lot more topological information here. And with this, we should smooth this as well. If you go back to tools here, and if you have clicked once, then it is like selected as active. If you click once more, then it is deselected there. For the same reason, we can deselect Lasso there. All right, and then we can go to smoothing tool, and for smoothing weight of 1 and 5 iterations have been good. And you can see here, this is before the smoothing, and this is after the smoothing. Very good. And it has much less vertices than the original photogrammetry result, but we do have like fairly smooth now, and it's much more smooth where it captured where there were a lot of recognition or recognizable features, like the hair, the what do you call it, the beard hairs. They were very easily recognizable for the software, so that made that area very accurately depicted. And for the rest, we might manually smooth in Blender. And I think we can actually do that. I think it is at this step. Yes, exactly. So now that we have the simplified and the smooth model, we can export this and import it in Blender so as to do some manual smoothing for the head here, and perhaps for the chin as well, although the chin will not be as central to the project as well. And perhaps also the tip of the nose there. We'll see about this. So we can deselect the smoothing tool, and we can export the mesh and point cloud, and then we'll go to the folder that is relevant, RealityCapture, and we can then export it here. And that's okay. It's okay with the OBJ file. That's really okay. All right, save that. And these settings are good. Well, we don't need to export the various colors, the one that we have colorized here. Yeah, and default is good there. Very good. Okay. That is finished. We can open Blender. Blender here. And here we can just, make sure the screencast is like that. And if you press A here in the scene collection, then you can also press X to delete everything, A for selecting all, and X for deleting all. All right, here we want to import. I want to import a wavefront OBJ, but we want to use this one, the not legacy one. And here it's simple. I think it's most simple to just copy the directory there, Control C, go here and paste that there, and there we have it. Very good. Default is good. All right, and now it is imported here, as you see. If you press the numpad comma key on a Swedish keyboard, numpad point here, as you see, but the numpad comma on Swedish keyboard, here we see here. Here it is important that we don't adjust the orientation of it, because we want to re-import this as is, but with the smoothened, some smoothened surfaces. So the only thing we want to do here is actually go to the sculpting workspace here, and then numpad comma again, and then let's see here. Yeah, we were on the inside of it. And here, like if you have the default draw tool here, if you hold shift, you will smooth like this. I'll Control Z to undo that. And you can change the radius and the strength that is relevant. Like if you increase that, then you smooth a much more larger one here. I'll undo that, of course. So we have 50 pixels here, 50 pixels here. And as it says, it's 50 pixels, so it's 50 pixels on your screen resolution or your monitor resolution. So if you go further in, then you see that it's a much smaller area that is smoothed. So it can be nifty. And I don't know why it didn't activate screencast keys here. I'll simply say what I'm doing then. So if you hold shift and the middle mouse button, you can pan the camera like this. And if you only hold the middle mouse button, you orbit like this. And let's see here. Yeah, well, I think what we most need to do is just to gently smoothen out the tip of the nose there, like that. Control Z to undo and Control Shift Z to redo. So like that. And we don't want to do too drastic changes to the topology here. Let's see here if we can, if we undo that and then perhaps do like that instead. No, we want to make sure that we can actually build up a little. Then if we have the default draw here, then we can just, without shift, we can build it up a little like that. And then we can smoothen that a little. But I think with a much less strength here. So now we have 0.5, but press 0.2. Yeah, like that. It's still too much. I'm just going to try it with 0.0.5 here. No, but it's like this is not the relevant setting, so let's see here. Like that, it's okay. And then here for the forehead, we just do perhaps like this. Very good. And here for the chin as well. Oh, for the neck. I'm holding shift and clicking and dragging so as to smoothen out the area that is in the way of this. Let's just go forward and backward and see if that was too significant a change. No, but it's good. We don't want to remove features though. The texture of it is going to give more information to the end result. So this might not be too important to smooth out. We can do like that. Yeah, we don't want like a fully smoothed, like a retouched version, but we want to make sure that where there were photogrammetrical noise, that we get rid of that, so that it does not get in the way of the process. All right. Yeah, looks good, and we don't want to like remove too many features here, so I think that's good. And then we can export this. So we'll go back to the layout tab here. And now screencast keys works again. So we'll just click on this, file, export as a wavefront, OBJ file. And we should have in the copy and paste memory here, we should have the same directory. So I'll just do like that. And then we can underscore this with smoothened. And we have the default settings here. Very good. All right, export that. And with that exported, we can go back to RealityCapture. And back in RealityCapture, we can go to the Mesh Model tab here, and we'll go to Import Model, and then we'll import that model. So we'll go to the relevant folder, and not the footage folder, but the RealityCapture folder, and exported one where we save that. And then we open that. And it's okay, we can still import it. It is in the same position anyway. Very good. So now we have the difference there, the original there, to the smoothened one there. With this smoothened mesh, we want to prepare this for the texturing of it, and we want to do that by unwrapping it. So we click on this unwrap button there, and then in the unwrap tool, we'll make sure in the settings, you click the settings here for the unwrap, and then we make sure that there's a maximal texture count of 1. We don't want this the texturing result to be split up into multiple textures. We want one single texture. Very good. And the maximum texture resolution is here set to 8K, but set it accordingly. If the process fails for a high resolution, then do 4K or 2K. Good. All right, and we don't need those settings, so I'll just click close there. And now with the unwrap tool and the settings as they should be, then we can simply click unwrap. And since we have a simplified model with only 60K, with only 60,000 triangles, like the unwrapping took no time at all. Very good. With that done, then we can click the texture tab. I'll just click the unwrap button here to remove that interface there, and then we'll click texturing. All right, and now we have the textured model here. And there might be some like texturing artifacts like this. It didn't capture the beard underneath the chin that well, but for the face and the facial features, we do have a really nice result. And the colorization method, it works by giving a vertex color to each color. But the texturing, it actually allows a texture file to be projected on all the triangles. And that means that we can have a relatively larger resolution for the color information for a relatively fewer amount of triangles. And that is a more efficient way. Yeah, I'm really satisfied with this result. And with this result as such, then we can simply export this. All right, so we'll go to Tools here and export the mesh and point cloud. And here we see we already have another model. So okay, we can save it as this. And here we want to make sure that we don't export the vertex normals, we don't export the vertex colors, but we want to export the texture. Very good. And we want to export it as a PNG, as a 32-bit BGRA, but that's simply an 8-bit per channel RGB, but with different channel order. All right, so we'll press OK here. And that finishes fairly quickly. And we can go to the exported folder here. And here we see that we have both the exported model and the exported texture file here. And this looks a little confounding, but this is simply how the mesh was unwrapped, like the peel of an orange, into a 2D representation of its surface texture. All right. With those two set, then we can actually start Blender. We want to make sure that this is oriented, because as you see, this is not oriented in a good way for importing into the game engine, into Unreal Engine. So we can actually use the same. We can use the same file here. This is only like for temporary file management, and anyway. So we can delete this if you hover the mouse in this. And then you press A, you can select everything, and then X to delete. And then we can go to File and import a wavefront. And then we'll import the new one. Very good. And here we have it. It looks like the same one. Because no mesh data was changed, but that's incorrect because no mesh data as in the vertices and the edges and the surfaces were changed, but we do have another unwrap of it. The other one was not unwrapped. It was not unwrapped like the piece of an orange. So we need to import this one. All right, and here we have to make sure if you press the numpad keys here, you can switch between the different orthographic projections. So we'll go 7 for top orthographic here. And we want to have the the tip of the nose facing the Y negative axis here, or the Y negative orientation. So the first thing we can do is if you click the point key here, you can choose the pivot point, and I want to make sure that we are actually we can choose the pivot point mode, the 3D cursor, but then we also need to make sure to actually, if you hold Shift and S, you can actually go cursor to world origin like that. All right, and now we can select this object again, and then we can rotate this. And rotating it now, we can rotate it 90 degrees. So I'll just input 90 here, and then do -90 because that was the orientation I intended. Very good. Then we can change the orientation here. Let's see here if we go to number 1, 3. Yeah, number 3. That's good. And then we'll change with rotate, and then we'll rotate. We can see here up to the left that is -90 again. So -90 like that. And if we see here, we're still wrong here, so we'll rotate Z. And now I press Z, and that constrains the rotation to only the Z axis. But since we are in the orthographic space here, that's the same as simply rotation and -90. So like that, now it's roughly correctly oriented here. If you click and hold the middle mouse button, then we can orbit from that same view, and we see that this looks good. But we want to, for simplicity's sake, we want to make sure with G is the translate command or grab and move. So G to grab and move this, and if you press Z now, you constrain it in the Z axis there. We want to make sure that this is above the Z horizontal 0 plane here. And now we can actually fine tune this if we press, I think it's 3, now it's 1. Then we go to the front orthographic here, and we see here if you hold Alt and press Z, you can activate the X-ray mode, or the half transparent see-through mode. And then we can more easily make sure with in this Z axis, we can make sure that the face itself is oriented straight enough. So if we grab and move here and make sure that this is roughly there, and then we can rotate here. And if you want to fine tune, now it's a little rough increments. If you hold Shift, you can do it in really fine increments. So here we can see if we have that, roughly positioned like that. And if we check in another view, this was the front facing one view. Here we can make sure to move it perhaps so that the eye like that. And here we don't need to rotate anything. In this, if you hold Alt and press Z, no, but this looks fairly straight. Yeah, so even though it's not it's not symmetrical, of course, because when we filter the selection in RealityCapture, we did not do it 100% symmetrically. But this looks fairly good. If we check here in orthographic, it might be a little skewed there. So let's see if we can not constrain it to the Z, but simply rotating it here. So like that, and then we can move it a little to the left here. Yeah, looks good. All right, and then we could make sure that this has the set origin to 3D cursor, so it's like that. But that will be automatically done. I'll undo that with Control so that it will be automatically done during exporting, so you don't need to do that. And the same applies for scaling and rotation and everything like that. So we can have it like this. We don't need to apply anything. Then we can export this with that selected as an OBJ file, and make sure that this is the model 7 one, and I'll do _oriented like that. And if we would have several, then it's important that we do only the selected, but we don't have, so it's okay. All right, very good. With this exported, we are ready to start Unreal Engine. And here in the Epic Games Launcher, we'll go to Library, and I'll just start previous project here. You can start a new one or how you want it. It's not the main point of the tutorial. I'll start this one. All right, and in your project, it can be any project, because what we're doing now is actually not related to any level, any specific level. It's related simply to the bridge custom mesh to MetaHuman interface. So we want to go to a folder where we can upload or where we can import these the exported mesh and the texture. So we go to characters here, and we have a folder here called MetaHuman identities, which we thought were good here. And then we'll do a new folder specifying the subjects. And then we'll go into that folder, and then we can actually go to the exported one here, and we see the oriented one and the texture there. Those two we can click and drag, and Alt-Tab to go here and click and drag those straight there. Now this should be it should be good with default settings. I'm just going to make sure that I have not changed anything specifically here. Yeah, we don't need nanite for this, but I didn't see a nanite option. Let's see here if I can see a nanite option. Yeah, okay, that's good. Like now this is not a, or actually this is a static mesh, so make sure that build nanite is disabled. You don't want to build nanite for this fairly small mesh that we want to use simply for the custom mesh to MetaHuman interface. All right, for the rest, it should be good with defaults. Okay, import. And now both the texture and the mesh is imported. To make sure that these are actually saved to the directory, let's make sure to Control, Shift, and S to save all pending files. And the next thing we should do is to make sure that this is only a texture file. As you see here, it is simply an image file. We want to make a material out of that, and the easiest way to do that is to actually create a material. I would recommend, since like creating a single material, individual materials for each and every one of these can be a little tedious. So it might be most beneficial to create one master material that is very simple in itself, and then to create materials and material instances of those. Then they can all share a parent, a master material, that has certain settings or certain parameters that can be individually set or reset in the material instance, like for example the texture. So I can show you how to do the material. You create a material, and MetaHuman identity, and the subject in this case, like that. And then we double click on that. And here we have that basic material, and we can do, if you hold 1, that's a scalar parameter, and click, then you create a scalar parameter. We want to perhaps have 0.9 as the roughness value here. It's not a glossy surface we want to replicate, it's a fairly rough surface. For the base color, we can hold T as a texture sampler, a texture sample there. And since we're in the material here, we can choose a texture, and then we'll simply type the name of the subject and make sure that it's the, yeah, exactly that one. It should be that one. And you can see here in the source file, in the pop-out, the furthest line is source file, and then you can see that, yes, it's correctly placed there. So it's that texture. And then you just drag the RGB output to the base color input, and since metallic is 0 by default, I think that that's the only thing we need here. So that's a very simple specific material. All right, let's save this and close this, and then if you open the mesh here, we can change the material to Henrik, and the question is, did I do like this? Yes, very good. Yeah, and in the lit workspace, it doesn't look as good as it does in the unlit, which is the one we're going to use. Like this, very good. Can save this, and then close. But I want to also show how to do a master material, perhaps I will not show how to do a master material, because you saw how to do a material there. And then we can go to the material library here in this folder and master, and a very simple master material. So you can create a master material that looks like this. And the metallic and roughness, they are created like the same, like we did previously. If you hold a scalar parameter, and then you right click on that and convert to parameter. And that makes sure that you have a nameable parameter that you can reference in the material instances. I'll delete this and also show that you can right click at any time, and then you can also like scalar parameter. Very good, that's the same thing. All right, and the texture here is the same thing. You do a texture and then you right click on this and then convert to parameter like that. And now it's a texture parameter, param 2D. And then that can be assigned as a default texture. And in this case, is the Unreal Engine 4 logo card there. And then that default texture can be replaced in all of the material instances that are created from this. So with this created like this, it can be saved or not, nothing changed, so we can close. But we can apply the changes. We did nothing, but it's okay. And then we can Control Shift and S to save that, as well as any other pending changes. And with that master material created, we can go back to the directory and right mouse button click, and instead of a material, we can do a material instance. So we'll do a material instance for a MetaHuman identity and the subject, and make sure that that's as well. And the material instance, it does not have any settings like that. It only have the parameters that are inherited from the parent. And a newly created material instance does not have a parent, so we'll make sure to assign one. So the name of that one is master simple, like that. And with the parent assigned, we immediately inherited different parameters and the default values of those. And if we want to change those default values, we can check that one and change the value here. And the metallic goes from 0 to 1, so 25 is unreasonable. But the only thing we need to change here is the texture parameter value. So we'll check this and do the subject name and that. And now we have referenced that. And that was a much more simple maneuver than creating a new material setup for all of the individual meshes. But that depends, of course, on how many you are intending to use. But using a master material and material instances that has that master material as a parent, inheriting the parameters and the default values, and those values can be easily changed, I find that a much more recommendable solution. Let's save this. And just for consistency, I'll upload or make sure that the material here is the material instance. And make sure that the correct naming here. And there's no difference at all. All right. And now we are prepared for the really fun stuff. So we'll go to, we'll right mouse button click here, and then we'll go to MetaHuman and MetaHuman identity. And here we'll do MetaHuman identity, the subject, like that. All right, double click on the MetaHuman identity. And now in this user interface, the MetaHuman identity interface, you can do components from mesh and just type in the imported model. Very good, and here we have it. We'll change the view mode from lit to unlit. And then we make sure to change the field of view from 45 to 20. That makes sure that we have a more narrow field of view with less perspective distortions. All right, with that selected, we can, or with that change, we can simply press, with the mesh selected, we can press F to do like that. And then I usually like holding the right mouse button and then increasing the scroll wheel, or like scrolling up with the scroll wheel. You can adjust the speed at which you travel in the space here. And then you, with W, A, S, D, and Q and E, you maneuver in the workspace or in the user interface here. And then I usually position so that I am facing like this, so that the axis so that I am horizontal to the axis here. Like that, perhaps. Let's see, one to the right. Yeah, and what I wanted to say was that now we made sure in Blender that the face itself is oriented so that in Blender, which has a right-handed coordinate system, y negative is the same as in Unreal Engine, which has a left-handed coordinate system, y positive. So that was the meaning of this. Now we have the face in the y positive direction here, and we can fairly easily make sure that the camera view is orbited or oriented straight from the face, straight with regards to the face. All right, very good. And now that we have the face in adequate view, we can click the Promote Frame button here. And that makes sure that we have a frame here, frame 0, very good. And with that active, we can click Track Active Frame. And that makes sure that the MetaHuman Identity Solver tries to find significant facial lines here. So the eyes and the line from the nose to the, like a little offset from the mouth and the mouth itself. Very good. And in this case, it worked splendidly. If the subject has a lot of facial hair, this step might fail and it will not necessarily lead to good results anyway. All right, with the active frame tracked, then you can make sure, now we have the neutral pose here, as should be. We can also change the body here, so then you can change the height in 3 different increments here. And then you can change like the body time. I don't know if it's exomorph, mesomorph, or what's like, but you can change it here. But this can be changed also in the MetaHuman interface later on. So it can be like this for now. All right, with the neutral pose frame promoted and actively tracked, and the body height and morphology selected, we can do MetaHuman Identity Solve. And when you have done MetaHuman Identity Solve, you can actually click B here, and then you see the solved MetaHuman identity. And in this view, it's not the easiest thing to see, like, but you can see that like there are similarities. And of course, it will not be like 100% the same, but it should be resembling in some ways. All right, and then we can click Mesh to MetaHuman. And as you see, it's waiting for the MetaHuman backend. You will need to wait for that. And now, your MetaHuman is now available in Creator and Bridge in the My MetaHuman section. Very good. Okay. I'll close this and save all pending changes. Very good. And then we can go to a web browser and go to MetaHumans, metahuman.unrealengine.com. Launch MetaHuman Creator. And if you are not logged in, make sure to log in with the same account that you have created the MetaHuman identity in Unreal Engine. All right, so here we have the MetaHuman, or the MetaHuman identity that was created from Unreal Engine. And then we simply click Edit Selected. And here, the first thing that we should do is to change the skin. So we'll go to Face and Skin. And as of now, it does not have any skin value here or skin color here. So we'll click Assign, and then we can just click at anything. And then we'll make sure to adjust this so that it is as close as the subject as possible. And I think it's good also to go perhaps to the original footage and pick one suitable extracted frame where like the whole face is, it's a little blurry, perhaps. No, but this is good. Yeah. So the 108, and then we can make a copy of that. I just temporarily move it there and then rotate that to the left. Like that. And then we can see here if we have the MetaHuman creator there, and then we can do perhaps like this. So we'll do move that there and move that there. it's just easier to make sure that you get the adequate skin color here. And the subject here has more redness that we can fix here, but then it's quite easily solved because you can just go to accents, and then if it's like in the forehead, I'm just gonna try redness here, a little like that. It's hard to like find the similarity without any hair at all, so I'm gonna go skip forward to head hair and then just do one. Is it that one perhaps that we can use as of now? No. Yeah, I'm fine with that, and then we can just do a little closer. Yeah, like that. It gets a little easier to see the skin as well when it's not the whole top of the head as well. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, like not perfect, but perhaps it should be a little more. If you want to go more pink. So we go here. Yeah, okay, so it might be more there, but a little like. Yeah, and this like for this tutorial, perhaps we will not do like the whole of that because it's a little finicky. But the redness we should perhaps mediate here. And then also if we can do the same here, then yeah, exactly, then we can get a little closer. Under eye, just gonna check here, that's only that one. Okay, so that perhaps, and the cheeks. Not that red, of course, but just like that. And I think this is only the lips, I think. Yeah, exactly. So not as much. Let's see, Control Z to undo that, and perhaps if we go, we increase the saturation, it gets more saturated. So perhaps like that. We want that pinkness without the redness. Yeah, like that perhaps. All right, and let's see here for the nose. Then the chin, we don't see that much. Oh, perhaps that's a good like approximation as of now. Yeah, but this can of course be. Yeah, perhaps increasing the contrast. Oh, I don't know. And the roughness. Yeah, exactly. That's the glossiness. I don't know if that's representable or not because we used a fairly well lit environment as well. So we can try that. And then if we go forward with the eyes, or perhaps like in terms of freckles, do we have it thought that this was good, and it might be a little too much freckles actually. Like I'll try with this one instead. Yeah, because we want those like accents here, but yeah, that might be better than this one. Yeah. Yeah. All right, and then we'll do, and I think also that if it's in a skin tab or not, is it, where is, yeah, it's a texture one. Yeah, because, yeah, it's a little too like smooth skinned, and I'm not saying that this is better, but perhaps a little more than that. So, but it's a fairly soft skin here. Let's see here. I'm just gonna see. It's easier to see where it turns too much. And we see that the redness here is way too like it looks more like yeah, some sort of lesion. So let's make sure that we change the accents here and we reduce the redness here as well. There is nothing like that there as well. Lips, we were fairly certain that. Yeah, but we still have much too much texture here, so let's see if we can. Yeah, one of these might be. Yeah, but because here we got a little redness, but is it in the right spots or not? I don't know. No, this is like it looks. Perhaps more like this. Yeah, I think this one we can try. And as as again, like this should not be like the endeavor here is not to make a perfect representation. It's just like more of like a half sibling or so. All right, then we can move forward with the eyes because the eyes is the gateway to the soul, and as of now, it's another eye color here. So let's see here, and that's not the best image for the eyes. Let's see if we have another frame here that's more focused on the eye. Let's see, it should be a little from below, I think. Let's see if we have one that is more crystal clear. Not so much motion. Yeah, it's a little hard to investigate this here, but we'll try to do it here. See if we can do it like this, perhaps. So it's definitely one of these three blues, but the question is which one it should be. And I think that we should perhaps do like that, so increase that a little. No, but it's a like a visible sort of like change in color in the inside, so perhaps this one. I don't know. Was it the first? Yeah, exactly. Because here we only have one more homogeneous color, and here there are more like two, and that has more accentuated rim there. And is there an accentuated rim there? I don't. I don't really see that. That's. It's a little. Let's see here if we. The best, of course, if you have the subject at hand, then you can check all of these things much more naturally. Uh, but I think I see like a darker rim, so that means that it should be like this, like as the output or as the like a starting point. No. All right, and then you can of course like change the iris and sclera, but that's since we don't have the most high clarity reference photo here, then it's a little hard to do that. All right, and then for teeth, we usually like you can leave it at default. Yeah, if you don't have any data on that. And then for the hair head, which we previously did, this was like approximation just to get a little closer from the beginning. Let's see if we can, yeah, if we go forward here until we have a image of the hair there like this. Let's see if we have one that is a little more resembling. This one is called short curly fade. But that is not what it is. But the short messy one was not 100%. But it's the short messy one is better. The short clean is way too clean, or is like side swept like that. It's a little upwards there. No, because the like it's shorter along there, so this one was more. Or was it? This one is perhaps better then. It's not perfect, like, but it's much. Yeah, it might be better then. All right, we'll do this, and then we'll change the color. and it should be more like darker and much less red. So let's see if we can do it like this. And this can also be helped, like now we have a studio lighting, we can do an indoor lighting, because of course the lighting will affect how it looks. Yeah, so now we see that the skin texture might be way too, should be a little more like this perhaps. It should be optimally more pink, or like a little more pink hue oriented, but perhaps like that. We can see the outdoor lighting. Yeah, but like perhaps closer. Yeah, we'll do like that, and then we'll go back to the studio. And then going back to the head here, and let's see here if we can go a little darker here. And we see that the skin color here is not that. Perhaps like that. Well, like I said, perfection is not possible in this instance due to my imperfect proficiency in this. All right, so we'll go back to the head hair, and yeah, perhaps we have like a sort of resembling hair color now. For the eyebrows, these eyebrows are a little too thin. So let's see here if we do medium unruly. What's the difference there? I think these were more, but then again it's less there. So this one might be better. Let's see if we have not perfect clarity or what to call it, but not that sharp. But let's see if we can go back a little. That, yeah, they're not that dissimilar. Yeah, and the color, let's see if we restore that. Yeah, exactly. You can change the color of that, but we usually like it's the same color as the hair, or like it can be. Mm. So in this case, I think that was good. Yeah, good. And then let's see here, if we go to eyelashes, then the MetaHuman identity solver thought it was this one. None, short sparse, short fine, short thin. I think that was actually more, or was it this one? It's the upper ones that gets way more accentuated than the reference here. Yeah, so perhaps we'll do the short sparse anyway. Yeah. And when it comes to mustache, let's see if we can have a stubble. More than a stubble. Yeah, but let's stay with stubble. And then for the beard, the stubble beard, let's see here if that was. Yeah, and I guess that the color here, let's see here, if we should not enable hair dye, but I think salt and pepper we could do here. And that is only for the beard now. Salt and pepper lightness. No, but no, but that was actually quite good. It's only that the salt and pepper, it's let's see. Yeah, okay, so like 1 and 0.65, we'll do the same for this one. Not possible. Now it's possible. Okay. Something like that. It's evident that the haircut style is not perfect, but it's much more similar now, or much more similar. So that's an exaggeration, but it is a little more similar now than before. All right, and yeah, and I think for reference like this is what we do. And then for the body proportions, you can change the yeah, you can change the body type and the length. Like this. And then you can also specify the clothes. And let's see here for the reference, we have it's the crew neck t-shirt, yes, but with a single primary color, and it should be from a preset, and since they are usually from a limited range of colors, I think that's okay. All right, and then for the bottom here, then we can do a pair of jeans, and they might be a little more like that, perhaps. And with the, what do you call it, the thread or the needle, not a needle, but the threading, they can be a little less accentuated, like that perhaps. And then for the shoes, we'll do running shoes. And they can be white perhaps. All right. Yeah. And as you see, this is a bug that I've encountered before, that the the color of the eyes changed at some part of this. So we'll go back to, and it says like, I hope that is nothing else, but yeah, they just change back to that. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so like not a perfect recreation of any sort, but definitely a sort of like pseudo likeness generated or created from the custom mesh that we photogrammetrically captured from the video footage. All right, and when you are done, it's very, very simple. It says here that all changes are saved, and you go back to My MetaHumans. And then when you see that your MetaHuman is properly saved here in the MetaHuman interface, then you can just go back to Unreal Engine. And then in even though you do it in any specific directory, any MetaHuman will be imported to the MetaHumans directory or subdirectory in the content folder. But we can do it here, so we can just add Quixel content, go to MetaHumans, and go to My MetaHumans, and then you simply click this button to download. This takes a very long time. And when your MetaHuman is finally downloaded, you simply click this button to export. All right, and when it's imported, there's a change to the source content file. You don't need to import this. All right, then we can close this bridge window here, and then we should go to the MetaHumans directory here, and our MetaHuman should be ready for importing here or dragging out into the scene here. And there might be some issues if you are not using real time, so just make sure that we turn on real time. And yeah, it looks as it should. Animating this is a whole another subject, but it can be very easily done by creating a level sequence. Let's see if we can do this quickly in the cinematics here. So this will be only temp for tutorial. And then we simply select the actor here, and we track that actor. And when you do, you get both the MetaHuman control rig and the face control board. And as such, you can, with the different keyframes, of course, then you can both. Yeah, I don't know why I would do precisely that. So yeah, then you can animate here. Let's see if we can do something more reasonable here. Which one is it to open the mouth? I can't remember. Yeah, but as you see, you can control the face, and you can do different keyframes for that, of course, here, as well as with the control rig. Yes. All right. Great. Thank you for your time.